Hello, we are the Chicago Wildlife Watch Group. Our project is a part of the Zooniverse website and aims to understand the relationship between animals on the food chain and types of locations where they are found. A food web consists of many intersecting food chains and represents the different things an organism can eat and be eaten by. It is only used to represent a community when we cannot fully describe what an organism, such as a human, eats with one linear pathway. The arrows on the food chain points from an organism that is eaten to the organism that eats it. A food chain is a linear sequence of organisms through which nutrients and energy pass as one organism eats another. Within the food chain, each organism occupies a different trophic level, defined by how many energy transfers separate it from the basic input of the chain. Urbanization is the shift of a population from living in a town to a city. Urbanization greatly affects the animals on the food web. It is one of the leading causes of species endangerment and can have negative effects on biodiversity because it disrupts an animal's natural habitat. In a study conducted on deer and coyotes in Chicago, the deer seemed to be less influenced by human disturbance than the coyotes. The behavior of urban wildlife was found to differ significantly from that observed in natural systems. Coyotes prey on deer and are therefore higher on the food chain. In the wild, deer stay very far away from coyotes. However, in the study, the deer and coyotes can be found within a 15-kilometer radius, and were forced to live somewhat together in nearby areas. As you can see in the top right picture, a coyote and a deer are photographed right next to each other. In this study, this was attributed to the small amount of habitat available in urban areas. Urban sprawl results from urbanization and has similar effects on natural systems. Urban sprawl is a spread of development outward from urban areas. This change of natural land into higher density land affects the animals that live there. When cities are built, the animals living in the once natural environment are forced to adapt to their changing surroundings. Natural areas in cities that are left unmanicured allow biodiversity to continue. Human interference is common in manicured areas of cities where businesses and shops are found. Some animals are able to adapt and flourish in these places as well. The species of animals found in both natural and unnatural areas differ. Each species' behavior also greatly differs. The correlation between animals on the food chain and the type of location that the animal is found causes a great deal of discussion. Chicago is located on the southwest shore of Lake Michigan. This region is home to many different species of biodiversity that have adapted to the changing landscape and behave differently than in nature. Chicago Wildlife Watch Project aims to find more information about the specific animals that live in high-density locations and their way of life using photographs throughout the city. We need to understand the effects of urbanization to better plan our use of land and protect ecosystem services. The species that appeared in the project included gray squirrel, fox squirrel, skunk, bird, beaver, fox, opossum, domestic dog, domestic cat, raccoon, mouse, rabbit, mink, woodchuck, muskrat, deer, coyote, and rat. The sizes of all the animals we identified varied, but it was consistent that the majority of the animals found were small animals. This is the composition of all the animals we found. Our hypothesis: large animals that are higher on the food chain are more likely to be located in natural, unmanicured environments than in manicured, human-interrupted environments. Small animals will have a higher likelihood to be found in the manicured, unnatural areas. To test our hypothesis, we focused on the size of animals that were photographed, where we found these animals in manicured or unmanicured environments, and the frequency that we saw these animals. Independent variables are location and time of day. Dependent variables are the type of animal. In most cases, as you move up the food chain, the size of the animal increases. The larger the animal, the more likely that they will see humans as competition and avoid busy manicured areas. This is in relation to size, because even though deer are primary consumers, they are larger in size, which also makes them stay away from these manicured areas. This is our food web with animals specific to our project. As you can tell, food webs can be complicated and show the complexity of interrelationships in a community of many different species. Here is our food chain, which provides a much more organized, easy-to-follow depiction of the relationships between the animals in our Chicago project. The food chain is relevant to our project because it helps to keep a balance in a specific ecosystem. Predator-prey relationships are changed as urban sprawl takes place and animals are pushed closer together. Animals that may not usually live in human-occupied areas begin to be found in these areas because urban sprawl changes in ecosystems flow and competitive elements. This is supported by our data as 90% of large animals are found in unmanicured areas, which are limited in an urban environment. Compared to large animals, small animals can be found in manicured environments much more frequently. We conclude from our pictures and data that this is because in manicured environments, these small animals such as squirrels are not threatened by larger animals because of the lack of larger animals in human-occupied areas. Small animals have come to view humans as less of a threat than large animals, leading to more squirrels living in close quarters with humans, manicured areas. We tested our data through a chi-square test and got a calculated p-value less than 0.05. This shows that there is statistical significance that smaller animals were found more often in manicured environments than larger animals. In a scientifically recognized study, similar findings were discovered on coyotes. Through this study, a possible reason for the large amount of animals in unmanicured areas was determined. In the Chicago metropolitan area specifically, a study was conducted on the diet of coyotes. Throughout 4 sites that varied in urban development, surveys collected the dominant food coyotes prey on. It was concluded that these coyotes in less developed areas had lower dietary diversity and therefore ventured into more developed areas to find food when their specific area declined in food abundance. In relation to our project, this shows that animals in less urban areas are sometimes drawn to urban areas in order to survive and find food. Squirrels. Our data consisted of almost 75% squirrels. We concluded that because the squirrels are capable of living in the manicured areas, unlike most other animals in our project, they become the dominant species in the manicured areas. In urban environments, manicured areas are most prevalent, which is allowing squirrels to become very highly populated in Chicago. Of the 32 large animals observed in the study, 75% of them were found only at night. 606 small animals were observed in the study. 85.3% of them were observed in the daytime. Competition for survival can affect an animal's behavior. As seen in the picture, a gray squirrel is found in the manicured, human-populated area. Since humans do not eat squirrels, squirrels do not have to compete with humans and therefore are able to survive and thrive in manicured areas. Here are some interesting photos found throughout our study. For further research using a future study, one can explore more details on the actual behaviors of individual animals as they struggle to survive amidst other factors, including climate change and human interference, as a comparison to their struggle on the food chain. Thank you.